told y'all it was going to be the greatest fight of 2024. It was going to be the biggest upset of the century. And boy, were we right, because Steve Claggett, the GOAT, has lost to Teofimo Lopez. Now, in all seriousness, y'all, we knew this fight wasn't going to be anything that spectacular. Let's be real. It wasn't going to be that spectacular. It wasn't going to be anything that was going to be eye-opening, or there wasn't going to be no upset alert or anything like that. Mostly everybody, if not everybody, had Steve Claggett losing. Now, I'm going to be honest, Breezy, this whole fight, it had its exciting moments, but overall, I mean, I just wasn't a big fan of the fight. And I mean, I'm gonna say this right now. Tiafimo did what he was supposed to do. Either win by knockout or win by dominant fashion. He was able to win by dominant fashion by basically winning all 12 rounds. Some people had it 11 rounds to one, others had it 12 rounds to nothing. But at the same time, Tiafimo kept doing the same exact thing and it kept working, so he didn't have to change it. Overall, this fight, I mean, from our rating scale, it's going to be pretty low on this list. So you know what? Let's start off with strategy. Now, I'm going to pass it on to you, Breezy, on a scale of 1 to 10. Both of these guys' performances overall, what would you rate it?
0.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Pause, pause. You're going to tell me they didn't do anything good?
But bro, I'll say this, right? As far as Teofimo, I'll say this. 4, okay. But there was nothing exciting about this fight. It
Wait, wait,
was
whoa,
literally
whoa, whoa,
this.
wait, wait, wait. Let me stop you right there. We're not talking about excitement. That's a different
I
category. We're talking
know,
about
I know,
strategy.
I know, I know,
All
I
right.
know.
Continue. Continue.
The strategy there was it was the same thing. Like it was like, all right, cool. Steve Claggett pushes him back. He keeps getting aggressive in the inside. Literally. And it's like it was really nothing that he could have done, even with the breaks in between. There was no adjustments and when as far as on T.O.'s behalf, T.O. did what he had to do to win. But at the same time, though, it's just kind of like I say this. It ain't no hate towards T.O. He did what he was supposed to do. He outboxed him, but that's not the T.O. that we seen at 135. And I just started thinking to myself, like maybe his power is not transitioning to 140 like that because usually T.O. he has more up his sleeve. He has more to offer than just being backed up in the damn corner and just counter punching the whole night. That's just not the T.O. that I'm used to seeing. So I get that about a 4.
From Tiafimo's perspective, I feel like he did exactly what he wanted to do. I'm gonna be honest. I get people call me crazy. I'm gonna give Tiafimo strategy an 8. I think he did exactly what he was supposed to do. I feel like his plan was to go in there, counterpunch. When there were times where he could bring in a little bit of pressure, he was able to do it. I feel like I feel like this was his plan. Basically, go in there. He knew this guy was going to be a brawler, and he knew that he was going to have to beat him with his boxing skills. He could have beat him any other way, but he chose to beat him with his boxing skills, and that's exactly what he did. As far as Steve Claggett, I give it about a 4. All right. I will say this. I think Steve Claggett's best punch in this fight was his jab. And I mean his jab, he was only landing 18%. So when we really break it down, Breezy, he didn't have a lot of success. There were times where I mean you could tell like Tiafimo's eyes were a little bit swollen. There were times where I feel like that jab was connecting, where he was doing his best work. I feel like on the inside, there were times where he would land a couple punches, but let's be real. After round one, Teofimo knew that he could hang with that. There wasn't a single threat that Steve Claggett could impose on him. He knew. So I feel like Teofimo's strategy was just to basically play with his food for the entire 12 rounds. Now, don't get me wrong. Do I think he might have wanted a knockout? Sure. But do I think he was aiming for it after the ninth round? No. I don't think he was aiming for no knockout. I think he was just like, you know what? I'm going to just toy around with this guy for 12 rounds. So, I mean, Teofimo Lopez, I give it about an 8. Even though he didn't have to make any adjustments, he did what he was supposed to do. His initial game plan worked. And I mean, overall, that alone, I mean, he did an overall decent job. But if you had to ask me, what do I rank this? I mean, Steve Clagg gets a 4. Teofimo Lopez gets an 8. I mean, that's basically a 6. So, I mean, you got strategy at a 0. I got it at a 6. Now, with that being said, let's get right to excitement. Here's where you can come in and give your grade on excitement. Scale on 1 to 10. Go.
One,
This
no
guy's
promotion.
you really hate this fight, huh?
It's terrible. I said Teofimo Lopez was gonna knock out Steve Claggett. He knocked me out. Look, I'm not even trying to sound like a hater, but bro, I've never seen a fight that literally went these exact same from round 1 to 12. I never have. Like, I'm just being real. Like, this is usually in fights, I'm so used to seeing adjustments, but like even before the fight, there was no credible hype for this fight. A lot of people wasn't even really focused or centered around this fight. A lot of people they literally bypassed this fight because they was looking to see what else was going on with 140 between Haney and Ryan and Lemon Paro. So a lot of people kind of just scared by this fight. So there was no excitement leading up to this fight. There was no excitement during this fight, and there's damn sure ain't no excitement after this fight.
Fight was a little bit more exciting than him versus Jermaine Ortiz. I feel like Jermaine Ortiz and him was a lot more boring, even though like it was closer. I'm it doesn't the excitement doesn't go above a 6. I mean, if the best you could rate it is a 6. I'm gonna rate it a 5. Honestly, I'm gonna rate this a 5 because I just feel like Steve Claggett had no right being in that ring with him. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there wasn't anything he did before the fight to get that title shot, and after the fight, I mean, the only thing I can come out and say was Steve Claggett is a tough guy. He lasted 12 rounds and that's it. Other than that, that's all I can say. I mean, what else am I supposed to say, Breezy? Am I supposed to say like Teofimo Lopez did an amazing job? He did what he was supposed to do. I mean, if either way, no matter how he would have won it, unless it would have been one of these like clean flush knockouts where it would have been a highlight reel KO, what credit can I give Teofimo Lopez for this win? He went in there, did what he was supposed to do, and that's it. So overall, man, I gotta give excitement a 9. I mean 5, excuse me, 5. Not a 9, a 5. Don't yell at me in the comments. Let's go to impact. All right. What impact does this have on the division or the sport of boxing? Now, I'll start off with this one. If I'm gonna grade any single one of these categories close to a 1, it's going to be either impact or hype, I should say. And I mean impact, I got to give it. I'm going to be generous, Breezy. I'm going to give it a 2. I just think that when you really look at it, this doesn't impact the division whatsoever. The only impact it could have like is maybe maybe somebody can pick a weakness out of Tio. I mean, I don't even think there was really a weakness from Tio in this fight. Besides, he got hit with maybe like a couple clean shots. But other than that, what can you take away from this fight? Because there's nothing really you could take away from Tio that we didn't already know. We knew he was a good counter puncher. We knew that he could fight on the inside and the outside. And we knew that Steve Claggett wasn't a match for him. So, what impact does this have on the sport of boxing? This doesn't do anything for the sport of boxing. It doesn't do anything for that 140-pound division. So, I'm gonna be generous and I'm gonna give it a 2.
One, I mean, he defended his belt, and he stayed active. I mean, as far as impact, it impacted him on a way to where like, he doesn't have to worry about a layoff because he stayed active. He defended his belt, but there's nobody like at 140 that's kind of like, ooh, Tio, I'm so scared. Tio, like it does nothing for box. It does nothing for 140. I think this was count, like I said in a breakdown prediction and announcement. This was just a stay busy fight, and I don't think it really showed anything. If anything, I think now people are kind of getting on Tio's head a little bit more now than ever because they felt like the performance was lack of performance. They feel like he should have been able to stop Claggett. So if anything, I think this fight kind of like made people kind of like look at Tio a certain kind of way, like as far as him outside the ring, but also as far as him in the ring. So if anything, I think this fight didn't really do nothing for 140. It definitely didn't do nothing for boxing. So I give it about a 1.
Before I move on to stakes, because that's the last topic, let me ask something. Because people might be looking at Teofimo differently after this fight. Impact doesn't always have to be good. Impact can be bad or good. Would you say would you keep it at a one, or would you say because possibly they're looking at Teofimo differently, it could raise the impact in that division a little bit? Or do you just feel like that's just not enough to put it anywhere above a one?
Honest, true opinion, I felt like that would have been different if he fought somebody else because when he beat Josh Taylor, that was just complete. Everybody just kind of like, okay, like T.O. like that. I mean, and I understand how it works in boxing, and 1 minute is this, the next minute is that too. But it's like I felt like it's just certain styles and certain fighters at 140 that just don't see him like that. And I think this fight just kind of like solidified that even more. And like I say, and I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm not trying to sit out there and rain on their parade. But this, in my God honest true opinion, this was a horrible fight. And I ain't trying to, I'm just telling how I feel. I just nothing about this fight was very appeasing. If anything, it was honestly sad. But I felt like, the contemporaries at 140, they kind of always looked at T.O. like that. And I think now even more, well, I guess you can consider that as an impact or a stake. You know, now they're just kind of like, oh, what I thought about you all along was true anyway, because you can't even get Steve Claggett out of here. So I think it just kind of solidified what some fighters already felt about T.O.
I'm gonna keep my answer at two, only for the sole purpose of this. I would have bumped it up a little bit if Teofimo didn't talk about going up to 147. If he goes up to 147, then there is no impact in this fight at all. Because hypothetically, he goes up to 147. What did this fight even do for the 140-pound division? He's going to have to vacate the titles anyway, and somebody else is going to pick him up. So I got to give it two. Last but not least, stakes. Stakes to me might be the highest ranked topic in here. Mind you, it is for a 140-pound championship. Steve Claggett, this was his first world championship opportunity. I'm gonna say this. I'll give the stakes a six. All right. You got that championship on the line. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you got Steve Claggett, who everybody was looking at as a Rocky. And overall, I mean, because of this win, Tio is still champion. He's still super champion status. He gets to do what he wants. But you can't rate it any higher than a six. You know what I'm saying? Because there wasn't more than one belt on the line. It wasn't a super fight between two great fighters. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it wasn't like if Tio lost this fight, it would have been bad. Don't get me wrong, it would have been terrible. But Steve Claggett wins this fight, it would have been huge. But there wasn't anything that we could look at and say, well, Steve Claggett had a really close fight and he could have won that fight. Therefore, the stakes go up a little bit right there. Or Steve Claggett has a legitimate shot to beat Teofimo Lopez. None of that was the case. I know Top Rank try to promote it as best as they possibly can, but I'm sorry. There's an old saying: you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink it. We're the horse. You can lead us to water. We're not going to drink whatever you're trying to sell. We're not drinking the Kool-Aid here. That's all I'm gonna say right now. We're not delusional. We know that Steve Claggett did not have a chance against Teofimo Lopez, or he had a very slim chance against Teofimo Lopez. So overall stakes, I got to give it a six, man.
I give it about a six also, just for the sole purpose of the title being on the line. Look, y'all, like here's the thing, right? So he has a belt, he defended it. The stakes is at a six because of that alone. But it's like it, it's basically what my bro Mario said. It's like if you go to 147, then you're not doing nothing for 140. And then not only that too, but it's like you're going into a whole nother division, having to take on a whole look. 147 is different from 140. 147 has a whole lot of different killers compared to 140. So not only that too, but you're going to have to get in there and you can't just take no, easy little competition. You're going to have to fight, the best of the best, back to back to back to back to back. But I give it a six. I agree with everything you say. You hit it right on the nail. I give it a six just for the sole purposes of the title being on the line.
Fight is ranked. When you add all those scores that we had, or the overall score that we had, it was a 14. Obviously, when you do the math, 14 divided by 4, that's 3.5, which is the rating for this fight at 3.5. This is the last ranked fight from all the fights that we have ranked since season 3. Me and Breezy were both going to get 1 point for this fight because we did predict Teofimo Lopez was going to win. Man, something told me I should have picked unanimous decision because Teofimo Lopez is one of those types of guys where he just fights at the level of his competition. He truly is one of those guys. This is a guy who could have a dominant performance against Pitbull Cruz, but then he goes up against somebody like Steve Claggett or Jermaine Ortiz, and he looks a little iffy. That's the type of guy Teofimo Lopez is. He fights to the level of his competition. So I should have picked unanimous decision, but obviously we didn't. We picked the right winner, just didn't get the right outcome. So 3.5 is where it's ranked. It's at the bottom of the list. So I'm not going to name all the fights above it because obviously it's in last place. But I will say, me and Breezy, we are going to be getting a point for this fight. So right now, I mean, as far as prediction scores, Breezy is up by 1 still. And we're just going to have to wait for the next fight. With that being said, before we log out, one last question. What is next for Teofimo Lopez? What do you want to see Teofimo Lopez do? Would you like to see him stay at 140 and challenge one of those big guys? Would you like to see him go up to 147? I'm gonna pass it on to you, Breezy. Give me your thoughts.
Show not performances like this because I'll go to sleep every night. But here's the thing though, right? As far as what's next for Tio, if you're gonna go to 147, like I just said a while ago, you can't take no Steve Claggett type fight. If you're trying to get the belts at 147, you're gonna have to fight every single killer at 147. But as far as me personally, I say this: get back in the lab, work on some more things. Go for Pitbull. Go for Paro. If you stay at 140, if you go to 147, I don't. As far as if you go to 147, I mean, get you a nice debut fight, and then start trying to make your way for the belts if that's what you really want to do. But as far as 140, why not go after the other titles? I mean, come unified, maybe even undisputed at 140. But I understand he want to go up to 147, and that one, all that moving up, going down with every single fighter is night and day. Almost every day you hear about a fighter want to move up or move down. It's night and day. So I say get all the belts at 140, then do that. But if you want to go to 147, cool. If you want to go to 147, I know he made mentions. Some people made mentions about Crawford, who's it's not even that there. But if you people talking about he will do this to Boots, and some sparring video came out of him and Boots, so that would be really funny and interesting to see.
He goes up against the top competition. I mean, you could put Teofimo against anybody. You know what I'm saying? He's just that guy that when he goes up against top competition, he looks like top competition. He looks like one of those top guys. I'm gonna say this: there's been reports that Mario Barrios and Stanionis, they're gonna be fighting for WBC in a unification bout. I would now, if that happens, it hasn't been confirmed or anything like that. It's obviously been reported and stuff, but it hasn't been confirmed. If that happens, I would like to see Teofimo get the winner of those two guys because the 147-pound division, Breezy, is more dry than my DMs. You know what I'm saying? So when you really think about it, the 147-pound division is pretty dry. Besides Boots, okay, and maybe Mario Barrios. Let's be real. That's probably the weakest division in boxing. So I feel like this is the perfect time for Teofimo Lopez to jump up to 147 and challenge one of those guys. I think his boxing ability is enough to beat Mario Barrios and Stanionis. I do believe that Teofimo Lopez against top competition steps up. And when there's two belts that are going to be on the line, and Teofimo Lopez can go into that 147-pound division and do what he needs to do, you give him you give him a debut fight against a 147-pounder. He beats that guy, and then all of a sudden he's in the talks for having a title fight. Now, if he wants to have a fight with Boots, that'll be very, very interesting. Okay, that'll be incredibly interesting. That's a fight that I would like to see because I truly believe that Tiffin will step up, and I believe Boots is definitely going to step up because he needs one of those big fights. Make that fight happen. I'd love to see that. But I do believe the better route for him is going to get the winner of Mario Barrios versus Stanionis. So that's what I would like to see. And with that being said, unfortunately, we have to end this very, very, very anticipated episode. We have to end it, man. Again, we talked about it, the upset of the year. I mean, it doesn't get no better than this. Greatest fight of all time. Teofimo Lopez defeats Steve Claggett by a dominant unanimous decision. And with that being said, we'll make sure we link our prediction episode to the outro, and we'll make sure that you guys keep on coming back and getting some content from the Puncher's Point. We've got to make sure you guys keep on coming back and clicking to watch more videos and everything like that. And we'll be reading the comments. That's let me tell you what we love about the comments. We love that y'all agree and disagree. Some of y'all disagree way too much, and some of y'all agree way too much. And we appreciate the support. We appreciate the feedback regardless. So I just want to say I appreciate that. Breezy, you got something to say before we wrap this up?
By the way, y'all, this is the new NyQuil. So if your grandmother, your grandpa, your mama, your dad need help trying to get some sleep in their system, just put that fight on. It'll help them out. I'm done.
It's out pretty good. I mean, I stayed awake for it. It was really, really hard. But here we are, man. So almost did the trick. With that being said, make sure y'all keep on tuning into the Puncher's Point. We're gonna keep on dropping episodes every other day. We're gonna make sure we keep on giving y'all prediction episodes, news breakdowns, all these types of things. Again, I'm telling you right now, this is the best time to be on point with the Puncher's Point. And I'm gonna say it one more time so you guys understand it. Make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point.